Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Hello, Kathy.
How are you, Shali?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Nice to see you on time.
Yeah, we try. I know there's some people who are going to join shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead as if you're ready.
All right.
I hope they don't distract you when they join.
No, I've set it that people can just join in quietly.
Great.
Yeah, so you're welcome. I can see Viola. Hi, Viola.
I think she might have noise in the background.
She was
Good. Okay.
she was the first one to arrive, so I want to tell her
Yeah.
congratulations. She's good at keeping time.
Excellent.
So
I'm going to
roughly,
give her a prize after this.
how many more people are we expecting from your end?
At least 5.
Mm-hmm.
At least. But I'm not 100% sure.
All right. Hi, Dr. Oponto. I see you. How are you?
Very fine. How are you?
Most welcome. I'm fine. Thank you.
Good.
Nice to see you after a long time.
Many years. I'm well.
Right.
Mm.
I think here mostly we have students from the University of Nairobi.
Mhm.
I know Shirley is from the Faculty of Law, Parklands. Is that true, Shirley?
Yes, it is, Kathy. Most of us are.
Most of you are from the School of School of Law, Faculty of Law.
Yes.
Okay, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would like you also to meet Dr. Felix Opondo.
Is it a legal forum?
Yeah, this may be a legal forum.
Good to meet
Then
you.
I should resign now. If it's a legal forum.
Oh, you're in the right place now, Ivan.
This is a legal forum. Now I should resign because I thought it was a psychological. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. In the right place. So feel welcome. And I think if we are ready, we can start off this discussion. Surely our discussion today is going to be about the situation we are in, COVID-19. COVID. My son is telling me it's COVID. COVID-19. And how it has affected our lives and how the new normal is going to be from now going forward. And as a start off, we would like to hear from the participants. Right now, we are not many, we are about 5. How has this COVID affected our lives so far, so that we can take it from there? Shirley, I'm going to come back to you many times to open for us. And let us know from your end, how has COVID affected your life so far?
Well, I think it's been a roller coaster for me because, well, I guess a part of me is introverted. So being indoors and not being able to leave was not such a problem. But I think for me, the most unsettling thing is the uncertainty. And the latest uncertainty is around exams and how, whether we're going to have them, how we're going to have them, the formats, etc. And just the uncertainty surrounding things. And then recently, I was even thinking that it'll be an adjustment to actually get back to normal, that we're all, clamoring for normalcy to return. But I think we'll be kind of traumatized when, when things go back to normal, like we'll have to readjust as well to that. So I think just uncertainty has been the main thing, although I've been trying to take all the positive lessons that I think I've learned in these few weeks. So overall, I think I'm coping more or less, not too badly.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open the forum for any other participants to share their experience how COVID has affected our lives since, I can say, the beginning of March or mid-March when it came to Kenya. Brian, you're most welcome.
Yes. Thank you.
You share with us, how has this COVID affected you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. You're loud and clear.
Wow, fantastic. Now, since the beginning of the crisis, since the first case was reported, I think around March 13th, I have been forced to suspend a lot of things, including, doing activities meant to maintain hygiene, like shaving my hair, because you see, among the advice given is that you should avoid as much as possible social contact. So you see, shaving requires contact between you and the barber, and so my hair is so long, and I'm uncomfortable with that. And then number two, I've been forced to confine myself here in the house, taking into account the fact that I am a person with disability, visual impairment. And you see, for people with visual impairment, it is it is a huge crisis, because some of the measures proposed by the government intrude on the welfare of persons with visual impairment, because you see, you are told not to touch surfaces, you are told to sanitize, but you see, touching is part of our lives. We are able to, for example, locate objects, find bearings, maybe direction to places by touching. When boarding matatus, you always have to, you see, as a visually impaired person, touch those kando kando ya matatu wakati unapanda, ili usianguke, so that you don't trip and fall. So that one has affected me personally. So it means I cannot even go to town because of that risk. That risk is real. And then also, it has affected me in the sense that, sighted guides are ordinarily, when we are walking accompanied by sighted guides, what we do, the sighted guide holds you on the, by the elbow. But now, the advice being given world over is that while coughing, you cough at your elbow. And you see, that is where we are normally guided from. So I know that currently blind people are advised to, if they must be guided by a sighted person, let that sighted person guide you by your shoulder, so that you also don't expose that person by letting him or her guide you by your shoulder. And again, sighted people are becoming fearful, because they believe by accepting to guide someone who is visually impaired equally exposes them to the risk of contracting the disease. So the risk is real, the effects are real, and for me, those are the effects I've suffered so far, and there are more I'll share in the course of this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, for that comprehensive sharing. And we hope to hear more, and also to hear from the others and how you can cope better. The forum is open. Viola, would you like to share something about how you're coping and how this has affected you?
I'm sorry. I had to leave you on mute because I have my baby who is a bit loud, and I don't want for that to be an interruption. Brian, it's very interesting to hear about from your perspective, and I hope that things return to. I'm not sure what normal will look like, but anyway, I'll be keeping you in my prayers, Brian, and everybody on the forum. So, like Shali, I'm very much an introvert. And for me personally, little has changed as far as my day-to-day because I stay home with my children. But it's been interesting to see and hear from other people's perspective. And for me, the biggest challenge has been not being able to go to church because that's a big part of our lives. So that has been quite an adjustment. And it's been interesting to cope with, to try to learn to cope in different ways without access to that spiritual, fundamental, basic need that I have. But I think that for me, it's also been quite beautiful to see how people have tried to do the right things. There've been so many stories from different people that have heard people getting the groceries shopped for, people getting just different help. So I think in that way, it's been good to see that side of humanity. And again, I think I've been a bit surprised that how introverted I am, because again, in that respect, for me, nothing has changed, and it's been. It sounds a bit. Might sound silly and not to dismiss what anybody else is going through, but it's been for me. It's felt a bit more quiet and calm. And I suppose maybe in a way we often need that. But then again, little has changed for me, other than access to church. So I'm hopeful that that's changing. So that should be changing. So yeah, that's mostly it. And even this, I think this has the way that many things have gone online has also been very helpful. I think different groups and different people have been able to connect in ways that they wouldn't have before, because people have had to think outside the box and make a service like this open, because we're able to meet in person. I think the benefits to that, and maybe that will continue so that you can continue to reach people who might not otherwise be able or willing to be there physically, no matter what field you're in. But that's as far as I feel I've been affected, and maybe I'll continue to see, as like Charlie said, when things reopen, maybe that's when I'll be more aware of how this has affected me, because when I go to the shops, I go by myself, and I don't want that, especially when thinking of the children, you're just a bit maybe slightly paranoid, or but it'll just take some adjustment, and I think we'll continue to see how it's affected us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that sharing. We really appreciate it. We're also seeing some positive signs of this whole scenario. The floor is still open. Anybody else who is willing to share their experience, how it has been since COVID started and where we are now? Feel free to share so that we can pick it up from there. I can see somebody with Lenovo. Anybody else willing to share their experience? Morgan Onyara, would you like to share your experience with us?
I joined a bit later. Another I've mentioned is really what I also experienced. The fact that I'm a student pursuing law at the University of Nairobi. So, of course, the major challenge for me is not being able to, you know, to interact with the students and the lecturer physically in class. But again, the positive side is that we are able to, you know, do a virtual class like this one. Of course, again, the possibility of technology, embracing technology. And secondly is also the spiritual side, the spiritual angle. I think I have missed that, considering that I mean, I used to, you know, attend morning masses, and of course Sunday masses. So that has effectively, you know, stopped. We rely on now virtual masses, you know, streaming live, but then that demands resources. So if you don't have resources, again, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. So other than that, the positive side is also that you are able to, you know, reconnect and do the things that you'd otherwise not been able to do during the normal periods, because then you're busy. But then now you have all the time to do those things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for that sharing. It's still open. I think I will ask Felix to comment on this, and feel free as we go in, we interact. This is an interactive session. It's not a teaching. We want to find out how you're doing, and then we give you our psychological input on how to cope and how to readjust to the normal as it is, and as things go back to what we may call normal in quotes. So Felix, you have heard how our participants are coping. So please come in and give us your input. Are they coping well, or can they do better? You need to unmute. Do I need to unmute you? Sorry.
I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, team.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Brian. Good afternoon. Yes.
Afternoon.
Brian, I'm so encouraged by your sharing. Very, very encouraging. Good afternoon, Pamela. I can see Morgan and maybe.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Daktari, for making arrangements for this session. I was asking that is this because most of the participants are legal students, and I was wondering if this is a legal session from the beginning. I think it's exciting to share with you, legal students. I'm a clinical psychologist and a psychologist in many areas, but at the same time I'm also a legal student. I think when I grow up, I want to become a lawyer. So so apart from that, I'm also a legal student at Catholic University. Now, basically, you have shared quite a number of expectations, and what I'm really picking from you and maybe any other person is the feeling that we could be stuck in one area or the other, because I've just keenly listened to what you have shared with me, the issues of the exams, the issues of staying at home, the issues of coping with the uncertainty. Some of us have not shaved for quite a long time because of the issues of the social distance. I'm just trying to look at them. And then also Brian has brought in a very, very important perspective that the country has not considered. And most especially when you're talking about our people who are different because of disabilities that makes them different from the others in terms of making the amenities also to be able to accommodate them. There's a difference that is there. I think this is a very, very important perspective. I just want to say that just to run through this, we are going through a change, and somebody shared change as something that presses us out of the comfort zones. This has really pressed us out of the comfort zone. He's went ahead. I just want to quote that change is destiny filtered, heart grown, faith built. Change is inequitable, not a respect of persons. Change is for the better or for the worse, depending on how you view it. So when change comes, it does not matter where we are. And currently, what we are actually focusing is change. Someone went ahead and said that change has an adjustment period, and we must, and now we are coming to the form of adjustment period when it comes to change, because we realize that with COVID-19, we have stayed indoors. This is now probably the second month. We are ending almost the second month in terms of staying indoors. We started staying indoors around mid of March, and they talk about now it's mid of May. Actually, we are past mid of May and going to mid of June. So we've done over 2 months staying indoors. We've done over 2 months. Our activities have actually sort of like virtually stopped. So one thing that is critical is that people are getting fatigued with staying indoors. People are getting fatigued with the new self that is expected of them. Countries are also talking about, for how long are we going to be in this situation? Economies are collapsing. You're aware that countries like Tanzania have picked on it radically. And I don't know, and I wonder whether that would be the right way, in my own opinion, because for the Tanzanians, COVID-19 does not exist. It ended, and they celebrated the burial of COVID-19 in Tanzania. And schools are going to open, airports are going to open. In fact, I was reading something today, I don't know whether it is valid, to the effect that Magufuli is saying that people should not wear masks and etc. It's making people panic, and therefore, the whole concept, whether what Tanzania is doing is correct or not, is the fact that there's a lot of fatigue in the way that in the way that we are. Economies are going down, and that is why His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta alluded to the fact that there might be relaxation in terms of lockdown and related, and people are expecting that maybe there's going to be opening up again when lockdowns are actually relaxed. So this is one important aspect that as we talk about the new normal is two things. We have to focus on how we can balance the new normal, at the same time keep COVID-19 in check. That is the main basis. How do we balance the new normal, but at the same time also keep COVID-19 in check? And when we talk about the issues of the new balance, I mean of the new normal, we are focusing on the fact that we must go out. We are not going to stay indoors for a whole year, not even for 4 months. People will have to come out. Economies will have to start off. People will have to pick up their life. But the only difference is that we might not go to the life that we had. And that's why we're talking about actually the new normal. Because it is abnormal, but at the same time, it is normal. It's an abnormal situation because this is not the way we have lived. And this is not the way we have wanted to live. But it's the new normal because this is the way that we actually must now live. So the question again is, how do we balance the new normal? How do we balance the new normal and also check on the COVID-19? That is the $1,000 question that we are having this afternoon. And we have to come out. At some point, we have to come out. At some point, you cannot stay with the shaggy hair for all that period of time. At some point, schools will have to open. Even if schools don't open, learning must continue. So how do we adjust to the new normal? That is the fundamental question. How do you adjust to the new normal? Because that is what is with us. When this COVID started, there was shock. In most cases, there was denial. In some cases, there was a lot of anger. And people started bargaining with it, accepting it. And now, there's some people who are depressed because of what is happening at the moment. And what we need to do is the new normal goes in terms of acceptance. And that is what we have this afternoon. I would wish to get it back again to Daktari so that we can be able to contribute as we are proceeding on. Yes.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your input and putting into perspective the new normal. I think as participants now, we appreciate that what we're talking about is the process we've gone through since mid-March. Actually, we know COVID started in 2019, December. We had had a lot of information of how things were happening when it started in Wuhan, China, and then spread to Europe. And for some time, there was a lot of anxiety, even in Africa and in Kenya, because we knew it was a matter of when, not if, it was going to arrive. And when it arrived, we were there, we were expecting it to come. And those news hit us as badly as they did. And we started with a single case, and then they did contact tracing, and the numbers kept on rising. Now we've passed the 1,000 mark. And reality has hit home that COVID is here with us. When it started, it was imported. It came from outside there, and we were just hoping they'll do the contact tracing, and those people will be dealt with and treated as soon as possible, and we go back to our lives. Unfortunately, it has gone to community transmission, meaning now the cases which are here, they're not coming from outside, they're spreading within the community. And here we've gone through the whole process. Daktari has taken us through the process of shock, process of denial. Is it really here? We are hungry. Why did this person have to travel? Why did they have to come? Why did they do this? And we were there hoping maybe not so many people will be infected. Maybe just a few that will be caught, and this will be dealt with. And finally, we are at a point where now we are accepting, really, this is here to stay. And now we have to adjust to life with COVID. So here we are at the adjustment stage. This now is open. We have read the reality for our inputs. How do we deal with this new normal? How do we deal with it? On the 6th of June, we are very expectant, especially those of us who are in Nairobi and Mombasa and the other areas where we have been confined, that the curfew maybe will be opened, the borders will be opened. How will be life on the 7th of June? What are we going to do differently? How are we going to move? If you have ever seen a chicken, if you have ever moved a chicken from a distance and you've tied its feet, and you go and release the feet of or the ropes which you are tied, you've seen most of the time the chicken will remain there even when it is released, not knowing. You need to give it a little nudge to tell it that you are free now, you can move. So we are trying to give ourselves that nudge, that time our feet are released. How do we go on? How do we move forward? How do we appreciate the new normal? So your inputs are welcome. And I need to appreciate the presence, recognize the presence of Dr. Pamela Lujalu. Dr. Pamela is the Assistant Dean of Students, Kikuyu campus. Thank you for finding time to be here with us. And I would also ask you to greet our students and tell us something. How are we dealing with this COVID, and how do we deal with the new normal? Dr. Pamela, please unmute and talk to us.
Okay, good
afternoon. Sorry, you are really broken. Seems like it's network problems.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Wow. Providing this forum or platform for us to interact and share ideas. I came in a little bit late, and the discussion was how do we anticipate to react, to behave after 6, or trying to working with the new normal, you know. I want to give an example of a religious fast. Some of our religious brothers and sisters have been going through quite a number of days in fast prayer and fasting. Now, some of us who have gone through that, when you complete your fast, there are people who have been longing to eat, and so they'll go for the food despite of, what the body requires. There are those who will be cautious enough to know that my health system may not allow me to eat everything, do my normal portions. So I am coming from that kind of a background. We're seeing it on social media, and we live with our brothers and sisters. And like the rest of the group have shared, a lot has changed. People are hungry, businesses have closed, and their children to be fed, their families to be fed, to be clothed. Some have had their habitations, taken away from them. So what we are saying is there is that kind of desperation for people to go out and get their livelihood. So like my colleagues have shared, it will depend on how we do this. I remember one of the students do things and still at the back of our mind, remember or still remind ourselves that we still have the COVID-19, challenges with us. So I think that's my input. How do we go out? I know that we are desperate. I know that we need to feed the children. I know that we need to look for fees. I know that we need to do ABC. But while we are doing that, the challenge that we need to be addressing, or the issues that we need to be addressing, is how do we balance the two? That's my input for now, in form of a challenge, in form of a question that I'm throwing out there.
Thank you very much, Daktari. Thank you for that challenge. And the question is for us, how do we balance? That has been thrown to us. I give it back to the participants to tell us, to react from where we are now. I can see Wango. Wango, would you like to share with us your input on this discussion? Please unmute so that we can hear you. Wango, we are waiting to hear you. Okay, maybe as internet issues. Resi, would you like to share with us your input on this discussion? Resi, are you here? Okay, as Resi prepares, I can see Stephen Mungithia. Stephen, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me? My name is Florence.
Oh, hi, Florence.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, nice to see you. Please share with us your input.
Whatever the gadget's name, the child was using it for class.
Okay.
Hello.
Tuned in all the way from Kitui.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you have heard my name is Florence, a nurse working in Kitui County. Since the COVID thing came, the shock is still there. And coming back to balance, it will depend on where the individual person is at the moment. Some were shocked and the shock went over and people are, to some extent, are normalizing at individual level. Others are still stagnated. So I think it could be individualistic care will be given, not like the massive, like generalization of issues will not be the best way to handle this. But you need to isolate the individual problems or the individual coping mechanisms towards these. Yes.
Thank you very much for your input. This we need to be, especially as caregivers who are here, to know that we need to individualize the needs and the care we're going to offer to people as we go forward. Thank you very much for that. Shirley, I still come back to you. What is your input on now the adjustment coming post-COVID period, confinement? Shirley, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please give us your input on this.
Well, I think it all depends on how you use the time now. So if you try, despite the challenges, if you try to work on yourself to the extent that you're able to do this, then I think it'll be easier to adjust when things go back to normal or the new normal or whatever it'll look like. So if you decide, I think it's all about a decision. I know there are very many challenges and people are feeling out of control and helpless. But if you decide to take the positive, because I'm sure there's always positive, if you decide to take the positive, focus on that and work on whatever you're able to, I think it will be easier to readjust than if it's just a totally negative experience. So that's what I would have to say.
Very much. Maybe just for a way of discussion, there's no right or wrong answer, and this I would like you to base it on your experience. Have you experienced any new insights as a result of this confinement, as something like come out where you realize this, we can call it the calm time you have had? What impact has it had in your life? Have you seen like, oh, this one I need to do differently? You can share your experience, please.
Are you still talking to me, Kathy?
Yes, yes, I am.
Oh, well, okay, to be honest. Initially, I was very...
Sorry, may I say something?
Oh yes, Viola wants to help you out. Yes, Viola.
Well, not help, but I think because since you asked Shirley, I've had a minute longer than her to think, and I can just share my one point. For me personally, I have been grateful for this time to think and to let go of what I thought I had control over. So I think that the idea of control is an illusion, and as a woman of faith, it's helped me fully realize that God has always, will always, and will continue to be in control. So I've had to let go of the illusion of control that I had, and that has been very freeing to continue. Again, taking the necessary precautions and following whatever is expected by way of law, and in considering taking other people's health and their circumstances into consideration. But all that said, God is in control. He will continue to be in control. And whatever control I thought I had was just an illusion. And that for me has been a big takeaway when we come out of this, whatever that will look like.
Thank you very much, Viola. You brought out something very interesting. I know we'll react to that, but that is something which I think our priorities basically, people need to, if you have a time to see the things you used to prioritize, are they really still the same? To realize that priorities can change in an instant. I know before March, we had many plans. There were things, maybe travel, maybe you think I need to finish these exams, I need to do this, I need to do this. Most of us would agree that we were always on our toes. So we've had time to sit back, calm down and ask, is that thing really that important in my life? And to realize just how fluid life is and how actually you have no control over what happens. Things can change in an instant. Thank you very much for bringing that out. And I'm hoping going forward, we may be able now to see how do we place the importance, the importance or the value we place to things. Are we able to readjust that to their rightful place, really, because sometimes we may prioritize things which are not really a priority. This is still open. Somebody would like to share their experience, and that question is still open. Have we experienced any new insights as a result of this confinement? And are we going to make readjustment with the new experiences or the new insights we have gained? Feel free to share.
Daktari?
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, I think in adjusting to the crisis, the immediate thing we may want to do, and this I think would work for me well, is to focus our minds away from the negativity of the, of COVID. This is not to rule out the danger of the infection, because whichever way we choose to look at it, it remains a fact that the virus is highly contagious, and failure to take precautions will only cause suffering amongst us and to our families. So how do we do this? Like I said, and this is an idea that has come up in the course of this meeting. Before when I first spoke, I said I'm unable even to shave my hair. Now again, I'm asking myself, why am I unable to shave my hair? Because I'm going to flout the advice against social distancing, and the barber is likely to pass the virus to me. Of course, that one is, to me, it's a small excuse. Uh, it is an excuse that is lame. Not everybody has corona. It doesn't mean that even visiting our friends, in our areas, because not every place is under lockdown. I understand the only places that are under lockdown, and it is actually not lockdown but cessation of movement, is Nairobi. People coming to Nairobi or going outside Nairobi cannot do so, because these areas have been isolated from the rest. But those within this area can actually visit one another. If you have a friend in a place like where I am here, if I have a neighbor who is a friend, I can just put on my mask, get my white cane, and go visit this friend, as long as I observe those measures that are the ones that have been suggested by government and other authorities like the World Health Organization. So long as we observe such measures, I think life must continue. We should not put everything to a standstill ati kwa sababu if we dare. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My screen reader was disrupting, but I was saying, if we don't continue behaving normally and live with the negativities of corona in our minds, then I don't think we will ever move from where we are, and we are in a very bad situation. So it is
Very
about,
much.
like someone once said, I think it is Shirley who once said that all we need to embrace now is physical distancing, not social distancing. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if I may jump in briefly.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about the new normal, what do we mean? What we mean is that we know that COVID-19 has got no treatment. It has got no vaccine. And remember that even common cold has got no vaccine up to the moment. So we talk about the new normal. This situation is not going to go away tomorrow. This situation probably is likely to remain with us maybe if not for the rest of our lives, but for a very long time, until probably a vaccine is going to be discovered to actually alter the course of or the progression of this condition. So when we talk about the new normal, what exactly we are saying here is that social distancing or physical distancing is going to remain with us from now going forth. I don't know until when. What it means is that the routines that we've been having, sometimes large classes that have been there, is what we may not have the large classes. They've had the large classes. This is something that is likely to remain with us. Issues like visiting, the way you used to visit may not be there the way it has been. And this is something that is likely to remain with us for a long time. Big weddings, where people are all there in hundreds, may not be there. It might not be there for a very long time. And life must continue. What you're saying here is that issues like washing the hands, somebody is making a joke and saying that my hands nowadays consume more alcohol than my mouth. And they didn't know that there would be a situation where the hand could consume more alcohol than the mouth. So that concept of the hand consuming more alcohol than the mouth is likely to remain with us for a very long time. What you're talking about, the issues of working from home, is likely to remain with us for actually a long time. So this is what we are calling the new normal. This is what we have been faced with. Actually, the world is continuing. We must get our economies. It's not going to collapse. We must get back to what we have been doing, but we must now get back to them differently. That is the new normal. We must get back to them differently. The way things have been happening, the world will continue, but we must adjust to what coronavirus virus has, or COVID-19 has set us in, and accepting the new environment, readjusting to the new environment, being able to see that this is what we have, and not anticipating change very fast, is what we're talking about as the new normal. And this is what we really need to, the fundamental question is, and probably I'm going to respond to that later, how do we adjust to what we have at the moment? Social distancing or physical distancing must remain. Visits may not be there. This is what we're calling the new normal. And therefore the question is, how do we adjust to it? Because life, in the simple term, life must continue. The economy is not going to collapse. We can't actually have cessation of movement for the rest of the time. Things are going to go back, but they not go back the way they were. They're going to go back the way the situation is at the moment, and that is the new normal. And probably this is what I'll be responding to later, even as we're coming to the end of this session. What are we supposed to do? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ari, for that input. And I just want to, the floor is still open, but before somebody jumps in, I like to say this period, we should not waste it. Let us not waste this pandemic as it has. There are many things to pick from it, and that is why I still come back to say, find out what insights have you gotten about yourself. I have been very impressed to hear there are people who know that they have understood themselves better. I know I'm an introvert and this is how I'm dealing with it. So find what you can take out of it. Look at your relationships. How has your relationships evolved during this period? And this will guide how to move forward, because like we are saying, things are not going to go back to the normal as we used. We have to define normality from where we are at this time. So you have to look at the people in your social relationships. How has it evolved? Do you see now people in a different light? Do you see people now, do you appreciate more people more? some people more, others,
Yeah,
have
I
you
do, and
known what kind of people really they are? So basically, we say we have to introspect during this period and learn, pick lessons which are going to move us to the next time we are moving into. The other thing I would also like to say is to echo what Brian has said. It really should be physical distance. We're looking at physical distance, not social distance, and certainly not emotional distance. So let us keep emotionally connected. Let us keep socially connected. This is some of the ways we are keeping socially connected. So let us keep socially connected, and let's not sink into some of the problems we may get, like depression and hopelessness as we go forward. So this is open. Before we get the final remarks, we should be finishing in another 10 minutes. Anyone who has a reaction can come in and tell us if they have picked something, they have got a new insights before we lock anyone out. Feel free.
Catherine, can I say something?
Yeah, please do.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, this is Jen.
Yeah.
Most welcome, Jen. Please say something.
Yeah. I'm not a student. Neither do I belong to the University of Nairobi. I'm from the Ministry of Health, and I'm happy that I joined this conversation, which is very, very helpful. I've gotten a few insights here and there. Letting go is one of them. Adjusting to the new normal. The issue of using fasting as a way to adjust, very, very important. My experience is personal experience. I don't know whether this one is psychological. Issue of budget. I don't know how many of us have realized that we can do it without some things, and we can do. There are things that we must have, and there are things that we just need. So for me, I've been able to know that I can cut my budget down and maybe just buy and get only what that I need.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. Actually, that's a very important area, because I'm sure in the new normal, we really must have adjust. This has come up, even Dr. Felix has talked about how the economies are strained, even big economies. And this, we should realize it's going to come back. It's going to come down to where we are. Businesses have not been working, things have not been running. So really our finances, our budgeting has to be, we have to get on top of it. We need to readjust and find our priorities. What do we need? What can we do without? What can we substitute so that we are able to manage? Because one of the main things which is going to affect people in not so long ago, even now we know there are people who are having problems paying their rent and meeting their daily needs. So budgets, financing is a very important adjustment. We are going to deal with that reality going forward. The floor is still open. Feel free to share.
Yes, I think Madam has shared a very important aspect of our lives, and we have been guided to look at some of the positives, that it's not all lost. We've learned a lot. I want to give a personal example, or rather a personal experience of what our Madam from the Ministry of Health has shared. Can I be heard? Am I heard?
Yes.
We can hear you.
You can
yes.
hear me. Yes. So I want to appreciate the fact that we are learning and unlearning every day, that it's not all doom.
Mm-hmm.
I can reflect at who I am. I can reflect on how I've been spending. I was going to share that, we have been home, we've been working from home for the last 2 months. And I had to look at what is important for me. Do I need to go to the salons and do those fancy hairstyles? Do I need to go for those? I'm just giving an example of how this period has been a time to learn, and that some of us, without this, we are learning that we wasted finances in non-essentials. So I'm just giving that as an example, that it's not all lost. That apart from the fact that we've gone through some traumatic experiences, we've lost, the touch with other people, but we know that it's been a rich period of learning, and we can pick the positives and say for sure, as a family person, I've learned the importance of treasuring the relationships that I have, my children, my spouse, my people that I live with in the house. We always wake up and say, my job, my job, my job. Now I have to work from home and live with, invest a lot in the people around me. So my comment is, I think in the process of adjusting, it will help in facilitating that adjustment, to say that it's not all lost. It's been a rich period of learning despite what we've gone through.
Thank you very much, Daktari, and really appreciate your input. Dr. Felix, kindly wrap it up for us. How do we adjust? How do we move on?
Maybe one important thing, and again from a psychologist perspective, is that we need to develop what we call, there's this new concept that is called psychological immunity. And just like the body has got the immunity, which actually supports us, especially when the body is under attack. One of the areas that is most attacked at the moment is our psychological well-being, because of the changes that have taken place, because of the new concept that we've been confronted with. One basic important aspect is for us to be able to focus in terms of coping and resilience in the psychological immunity. We are all aware of that. One of the things that happens that there's a relationship between stress and immunosuppression. And therefore, if you can be able to develop the psychological immunity, it's going to help us in coping. And I'll just run through. When you talk about psychological immunity, just like we talk about the components of the body immunity, when we talk about psychological immunity, we talk about what are some of the, in fact, when we talk about antibodies, positive thinking at this time is a very important component of psychological immunity. Two, I'll be a little bit fast. The issue of the sense, issues of having control of the situation, not becoming helpless of the situation. And I like the contribution from Daktari, Pamela. I like the contribution from Brian. In fact, Brian, you need to get my contact. Is one aspect. There's certain aspect that I would wish also to share with you, especially from the fact that you are living with disability and you are faced with this, and there are also some other people that are also living with disability and they are faced with this. Issues of having self-control, having control of the situation is very important. Three, issue of creating a sense of self-growth. I've loved it when I hear you saying that this has not wholly been negative. There are certain things you've realized about yourself. There are certain aspects that you have readjusted about yourself. That is a form of self-growth. We talk about issues of psychological immunity. We talk about the issue of being able to become a problem solver. There are several problems that have come out of this. How do we solve these problems? If this is the problem, there are skills. If I'm able to solve that problem, I'm able to build on my psychological immunity. And you know that with COVID-19, there's no treatment, there's no vaccine. The strength of the body and the strength of the mind is a serious protective factor in altering the progression of this condition, and even altering one getting infected because of the psychological strength and because of the physical strength. And that is why the main focus we're talking about today is psychological immunity. Psychological immunity has to do with the issues of, just one moment. Psychological immunity has also to do with the issues of also having capacity and the efficacy. Psychological immunity has to do with having goals. Because of the situation is so different, we must be goal-oriented. Psychological immunity, the component is about having impulse control, having emotional control. If you're going to inculcate this in us, then it's going to strengthen us. And what we need so much, one protective factor so much in COVID-19 is about being psychologically strong. Other than that, it's also important for us to accept the new changes that have taken place. We can't go back to where we were. We're not going to go back to where, however much we loved the other situation, however much as a Luo I loved eating in funerals, we may not go back to that. And it might not go back to that situation because gathering would not be there. Even right from now, gathering would still be seriously controlled. Issues of eating out would be seriously controlled. So if that is the new normal, then the issue is that I need to accept. And what am I accepting? I'm accepting some of the losses I've gone through. Maybe I can't go out in bars and drink with people. I can't go to dancing halls where people are clubbing and we are there, so many of us. These are some of the things that I have lost. I have to accept them. I need also to adjust to the new environment. The new environment is an environment where I have to wash my hands. My hands has to take more alcohol than my mouth. That is my new environment. I have to adjust to it. My new environment is whereby I have to keep physical distance. My new environment is whereby I have to enhance emotional relationship. We're not having emotional distance, just like we have said here. That is the new normal. I have to adjust to the new normal. The new normal entails maybe most of the learning might be through online. That is the new normal. And when I'm just in the new environment, what would be also be very important is that I have to start with the emotional investment that I've had in previous activities. Because maybe I've invested in friends. I can't be with them the way I've always been with them. I have invested in certain situations. I can't do them the way I would want to do them. Therefore, I have to start withdrawing my emotional investment, just like most of us have said here. Maybe I like when you talk about that. Some of us have realized that you can be able to save. Some of us have realized that certain things are not important. We can do without them. So we start investing in what is important with the new situation and removing our emotional investment from what is not important with the new situation. It could have been important in the previous environment, but it's not important in the current environment. There are things that we must start to let go because they are not. If you continue investing in what does not give you return, we are going to be emotionally drained. And therefore, there are certain things that we must start to let go. And finally, we need to say goodbye to certain things. Goodbye to certain things that we used to love so much because they are not relevant at the moment. However much we love them, we must say goodbye to them. And I'm wondering what you're saying goodbye to, even as you're sitting there, because this will be very fundamental in us being able to balance between the new normal at the same time checking the COVID-19. Back to you, Dr. Ali.
Wow. I think you've really summed it up for us, and I really must thank you very much for your time. And we are coming to an end. I'll still give it a last point if anyone has a question to Dr. Ali, a reaction. But for me, as a way of closing it up, is to say thank you very much. This session was actually requested by Shirley. Shirley is a student leader at Parklands. She has been wanting us to give psychological support or encouragement to our students. And so that is why we had a lot of students from the Parklands School, Faculty of Law. I invited a few of my friends. Jen is from the Ministry of Health, very resourceful person. She has a lot of information. She's dealing with COVID patients at the Ministry of Health. She's from the Division of Mental Health. So I invited her. Thank you for finding time to come, Jen. Dr. Pamela, we work with her a lot with students. She's the Assistant Dean of Students, Kikuyu Campus. So we do a lot of work with our students there. I'd also invited the students from Kikuyu Campus. I hope they've been able to join in and benefit. Florence Mungivia is from my village in Kitui. I'm very happy to see her, a very resourceful nurse who is doing very good work in Kitui. Feel welcome and give my salams to the people there. I will say let us continue to observe and washing the guidelines we've been given. Let us wash our hands. Best of all, let us not panic. Stick to the guidelines. COVID, we have agreed, is going to be with us for a long time to come. We don't know how long. But if we keep to the guidelines, we take care of ourselves, we are going to live life normally as it is. There's no need to panic. We just need to know how to do the right things and to follow every guideline we have been given. I know very soon the restrictions are going to be lifted and the responsibility is going to be personal. We have been given a lot of information on how COVID is spread around, most of the time by not keeping hygiene, maybe by aerosol when we are talking or we are coughing. So we also observe that kind of hygiene by putting on our masks, not being into close proximity. So we keep physical distance, 1 meter distance, a minimum, bigger distance possibly. But we're saying at the same time, let us keep socially connected, emotionally connected. It's very important. So we work together to really live life as it is, as has been given to us. We say when life gives you lemons, don't complain, make lemonade. So we are going to adjust, and we are here as psychologists to guide us psychologically. We've just heard from Daktari about psychological immunity, how to develop, and I'm sure we have all gained a lot from that. These forums, we are open as psychologists to support, especially our students and the general public where we can. So feel free to come through. Thank you, students, for your time and for your for being proactive. If you didn't ask for it, probably it would not happen. And now that we are here, you can invite more of your friends so that they can all benefit. If there's anyone with a final word, it's welcome. If not, I'm going to ask to close the session. I don't want to lock it.
Thank you so much for facilitating.
Oh, sorry.
Shirley, go ahead, you're there.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Kathy, I must thank you and your entire panel for your time. I'm 100% sure we've all gained something from today's session. Just to give you a 10-second history, we were just preparing our first physical meeting before the curfew kicked in and before before Corona kicked in, I should say. So we've just started now trying to get online meetings going. So I believe that in time, most of us will be joining the meetings. Right now, I think people are still dealing with a lot of stuff, but thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll be asking you to give us another session soon. We hope that will be possible. Thank you.
We are here for you. Thank you very much. And everybody else, maybe Dr. you have some last word? Yeah, good. Thank you very much. So at this point, Dr. Pamela, you had something to say.
No, just to thank you for facilitating this. I've learned a lot. And I know the more we have such interactions, the more we gain insights and the more we learn from one another. So I'm grateful that such a forum was organized for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a very great afternoon. So I will sign off and wish you a great afternoon, and we hope we meet again soon. We are available to support you and to support each other. We also learn as we interact with especially the young people. Asanteni sana na kwaheri.
Kwaheri.
Bye.
Kwaheri, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bless.